It's time, Fort Wayne. Your sports, your station. It's the Sports Rush with Brett Rump.
Max Landis.
Covering all the topics that hit a nerve here in the Summit City.
Clark, 11-yard touchdown.
Only on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Now here's your host, Brett Rump.
The greatest, most interesting, most important person of all time.
You are incredible. Over the boys. Yeah, well, you're half right. What is this, amateur hour?
This is going to be huge.
I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
Just when I think you said the stupidest thing ever, you keep talking.
I think that's the worst thing I've ever heard.
That boy ain't right.
The simplest way to put it, I have problems.
Welcome to the alleged show.
Believe me, just watch.
Cruising on home on a Tuesday. It is the Sports Rush, your daily local sports fix, 4 to 6. I am Brett Rump, along with Adam Lundy, and you connected on the Parkview Sports Medicine text line at 260-447-8500. Coming up, going to give you a chance to beat me at Tuesday Time Capsule Trivia. We got a large pizza to Pizza Hut to give away to whoever is today's contestant, and we'll do that coming up here in just minutes, so do not get far from your radio. Also coming up this hour, Dylan Sinn from the Journal Gazette to talk tonight's Purdue and Indiana basketball games. You know, I look at the Hoosiers against Wisconsin. This is a big week for Indiana because I really feel like they've got the potential to pick up 2 quad one wins, 2 resume-building wins on the road at Wisconsin, put away that 27-year drought, and then come back home in front of a raucous home crowd after you go get the road victory over Wisconsin. And you know that the crowd will be energized by the fact the opposing coach Saturday will be Dusty May.
Yeah, a coach that a lot of Indiana Hoosiers fans would have liked to see in the green and crimson.
Let me tell you what will happen if Indiana loses tonight, especially if they lose with poor execution down the stretch. I think Dusty May will get a bigger hand upon introductions than Mike Woodson does.
Yeah, definitely possible. It's, just from the ire of the fans, we would have liked to see it.
The fans will send a message to Dusty. We love you here. We want you as our coach here. And maybe it's even a message being sent to Scott Dolson. But if Indiana wins, I don't know that it will be that dramatic, but I could still see Dusty May getting a nice ovation because I think there's a lot of fans that are wanting him to feel like he is welcome in that building and that they would like to see him play every game at Simon Scott Assembly Hall. But Michigan coming into town, and Indiana matches up pretty well with both of these teams. And I think Wisconsin is one that is ripe for the picking if you match up well with them, and I think Indiana does. And now, do I expect Indiana to win? No, but do I think that at least it's not going to be one of those where the Hoosiers can't be in this game? I think the Hoosiers can be, and we'll see. And then, depending on tonight's outcome, I'll have to get a better feel for Saturday, but I just, Michigan, one of the things that they bring is a pretty electric point guard, and if you can handle their point guard and have matchups against Wolf and Golden, the 2 7-footers, and Indiana can match up with 2 7-footers.
They can.
Purdue Fort Wayne couldn't, especially after Eric Mulder was out of the lineup, and that's why Purdue Fort Wayne got beat by 30 points.
Yeah.
But Indiana, I think they can. And Michigan's been a much better team at home than they've been on the road.
It'll be interesting to see how motivated and fired up this Indiana Hoosiers team looks. I mean, I know they had that close loss to Purdue, and they've had a couple close losses, so we'll see if they still have the fight in them after those.
260-447-8500, the Parkview Sports Medicine text line. You can let us know your thoughts, questions, comments, or suggestions, 260-447-8500. It is Mastodon Mania Week. Which it kind of replaces what was traditionally homecoming, and it spaces it out all week long because both the men and women are home all week. They both have a pair of games on their home court. For the men, they will start things off tomorrow night, taking on Wright State, a team that they went double overtime with when they played in Dayton less than a month ago. And for the women, they will play on Thursday at the Gate Center against Oakland, a team they beat by 40.
Man.
On the road against a team that's 500 in the league. And then on Saturday, it's the big doubleheader. Everybody should be at the Coliseum on Saturday.
Place to be.
Because you've got the women who are 18-5, 13-0 in league play. They'll open it up at 4 o'clock, taking on Wright State. And then the men follow 7 o'clock with their 16-8 record, 9-4 in the league, and really surviving without Eric Mulder in the lineup. They are in second place in the Horizon League, and they will take on last place Green Bay, coached by Doug Gottlieb, Saturday night. So the place to be is the Coliseum. 2 games for the price of 1, and hopefully you can be there.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of value in entertainment per dollar, I think, is probably one of the highest you'll get for any sporting event in town or in the, Indiana, perhaps.
And if you question the quality of these teams, listen to this. This is national ranks among 364 Division I basketball teams.
Mm-hmm.
For the men, in turnovers per game, they're second in the country. Turnover margin, they're fourth. Three-pointers per game, they're fourth. 3-point percentage, 14th. I know a lot of people who went to the game last Thursday probably cannot believe that's a 14th best shooting team in the country from 3, but they bounced back, and now it's like 5 of their last 6 games. They've been shooting it a combined 50% from 3, and the only game that they weren't close to that number was Cleveland State when they had the biggest crowd. But, they're 14th in the country in 3-point percentage. They are number 12 in assist-to-turnover ratio. In points per game, they score the 20th most points per game, and their effective field goal percentage puts them 16th, again, out of 364 Division I college basketball teams. Women's basketball, they're very similar to the men. That's the funny thing. Few turnovers and a large turnover margin, because the Mastodons men are second and fourth in those 2 categories, and the women 11th for the fewest turnovers per game and 16th in turnover margin. And 3-pointers. The women are 16th in the country, a number of 3-pointers per game, and they're 17th in the country in their 3-point percentage. It should be a lot of fun Saturday, getting a chance to see 2 quality basketball programs, and hopefully you make it out. I think tickets for the main area of seating is like $15 for 2 Division I college basketball games.
Like I said, best value entertainment per dollar around.
You ready to do this?
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's take caller number 2 at 260-447-8500. Caller number 2, 260-447-8500 to play Tuesday Time Capsule Trivia. Today's contestant is going to win a large pizza to Pizza Hut just for playing. And we have to do that because otherwise nobody would call in, because they know their chances of winning when they have to take on me is very small. But we are ready to play, and we already have a contestant that is lined up.
Yeah.
Man, this is like the pigs that run into the slaughterhouse.
Oh, come on.
Oh, my goodness. Couldn't wait to get on the line so he could be the victim today. Who's on the phone? Who's this?
This is Chris.
Hey, Chris, have you played before?
I have not played, but I've heard it on the radio many times.
Okay.
All right, first timer. Let's do it.
That's why he was so quick to call.
He wanted to get his first time.
I haven't smacked him around 3 or 4 times.
That's right.
All right, Chris, you know the rules, so let's go ahead and play.
It's time for Tuesday Time Capsule Trivia on the Sports Rush.
All right, let me get into clue number 1 here. We're going to start off with track and field. Hisham El Garouj set a new world record for the mile in this year. He recorded a time of 3:43.13.
Okay, Chris, it is your choice here on the first question. You can either take a stab at it or you can pass it to me. But remember, we alternate on each additional clue. So What do you want to do? Go first or pass it to me?
I'll pass it to you, Brett.
I will say 2009.
Chris.
I'll go 2004.
All right, going on to clue number 2. This will be Chris first. Carlos Beltran of the Kansas City Royals was named your AL Rookie of the Year in this year.
Oh, boy. Let's go for 2000.
Carlos Beltran. I'll say 2004. Oh, wait. I said, hold on. He said 2004 last time.
I think we have done 2004, yeah.
Yeah, I repeated. So that the rules, and we make them up sometimes as we go, but this has been the rule since the beginning.
Yeah. Do you want one more?
Yeah, that if you inadvertently give a year that's been guessed, you get another. I'll take 2002. Okay.
All right.
Now, I think that was also taken before.
Was it?
No.
I got to start writing these down, man.
No. What did Chris just guess?
2000. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I got to keep track because I don't want to do it again.
All right. Clue number 3. This will be Brett first. Felix Trinidad defeats Oscar De La Hoya by split 12-round decision to unify the IBF and WBC's World Welterweight Championships in this year.
It's always tough because, man, you're mentioning these names like Beltran and De La Hoya, and it's like, I remember them really well, but time, the perception of time is so much different the older you get.
Sure is.
Yep.
And so I will say, like De La Hoya, see, I don't think of him as that old, but he's probably older than I think he is. I'll say, I'll say 1999. Oh!
Nice.
Oh!
Did you know it, Chris? Would you have guessed 99?
I was going to guess 98.
All right. Hey, I appreciate the honesty there.
I don't know if I was mumbling to myself because I was doing some math in my head, and I don't know if you heard me saying like 26, 27. I was trying to figure out how many years ago based on how old I think he is today, and that's how I actually came up with 99. And Chris, you were very, very close with your guess of 2000.
Yep.
But unfortunately, Chris, I'm the one that's going to party like it's 1999.
Congrats.
But you are going to get a pizza to Pizza Hut, so there's no losers really on this program.
Nope. Stay on the line for us, Chris.
Yep. Stay on the line.
Will do.
We'll get with you in a couple of minutes. Thanks for playing.
Yep. Enjoy the show.
Thank you. That is Chris, today's contestant, and yet another loser on Tuesday. Time Capsule Trivia.
Good job.
Yeah, I feel good. It always kind of makes my week when I'm the worst winner. I really am. I don't know if I'm a worse loser or worse winner.
They're both up there.
Man, because I'm very emotional. I get very excited about victories, and I get very disappointed when somebody takes one from me.
Hey, shout out to our texter on the text line. They got the year right, too. So, hey, good job.
Good. Well, yeah, of course, because they heard me say it. That's how hard is it when you play along? All right, but 1999. All right. We'll play another edition of Tuesday Time Capsule Trivia coming up next week, presented by Pizza Hut of Fort Wayne. We've got to take a time out because we've got to talk some Purdue and Indiana basketball with Dylan Sinn from the Journal Gazette. He's next here on the Sports Rush on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Super Bowl 59 coming up this Sunday, and we are your home of the radio coverage, starting things off at 2 o'clock, courtesy of Westwood One. Super Bowl coverage of the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles right here at 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Tonight, it's college basketball. Indiana on WOWO 92.3 FM, and the Boilermakers taking on Iowa tonight in Iowa City, and Purdue, Iowa at 7 o'clock right after the Mastodons Coaches Show on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Joining us now to talk Indiana, Purdue, and, of course, his deep insights into Comet hockey. It is Dylan Sinn from the Journal Gazette. Dylan, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Brett. Thanks for having me on. As always, I appreciate you acknowledging my new role.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. You're doing your best, Justin Cohn, and I thought you aced it for the first night.
Oh, well, I do appreciate that. It was actually the first Comets game I've been to since I've been in Fort Wayne. So It was honestly a terrific experience. I really enjoyed it, and obviously Justin's work over the years and reading what he's done informed my coverage. So shout out to him as always.
It was great to follow, and of course everybody kind of getting their crack at covering Comet hockey. But now, are you going to be? How many? Do you know what games or how many games you've got lined up? Because you did a fine job, but I know you've got other jobs that are a little more important.
Yeah, so the way it's working is until we get someone full-time in, we're going to split it between myself, Victoria Jacobson, and Josh Patterson. They're all going to do, we're all going to do a certain number of games. I think it's 9 home games in February. We're going to do 3 each, I believe. So that's how we're doing it. And I believe I am not there this week, but I will be next week. So looking forward to that.
All right, so let's talk about the primary gig, I guess we'll call it. The fact you've covered college basketball with the Indiana Hoosiers and the Purdue Boilermakers for some time. They were conveniently in the same arena last Friday night in a game that Purdue prevailed late. And again, late game execution by the Indiana Hoosiers hurts them down the stretch. Where did you see this game slipping away from Indiana?
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing is the Indiana, I thought they were going to kind of let it slip away early in that second half when Trey Kaufman-Renn really got going for Purdue. I thought that was kind of the best offense Purdue had, was just letting Kaufman-Renn kind of go straight to the rim. He was the best big man on the floor in that game. I thought he outplayed Umwabalo a little bit. But Indiana hung in. I was really impressed with the way they kind of got up off the mat after that early second half surge, put themselves in position to win. But again, Kaufman-Renn makes a really good play on that winning basket. 14 feet, Indiana played good defense, just Kaufman-Renn made a better shot. And then obviously the last possession, Mike Woodson wanted a timeout. Miles Rice didn't see him over there trying to get his attention to call one, and kind of just went to the rim. And it's a miscommunication for the second straight game that cost Indiana.
Well, and I want to ask about that because I saw a video replay, and I never really saw any kind of gesture or action by Woodson that indicated to me he was trying to call a timeout. And here's the thing I said yesterday, Dylan, so I want you to kind of help explain it. Yesterday I said that officials are not dumb. They understand the game and they understand the situation, and they're probably with one eye kind of keeping an eye over on that Indiana bench because it is a situation where a lot of coaches will call a timeout, and so they want to be prepared for it. And I thought if Mike Woodson indicated at all he wanted a timeout, the officials would have given him one. But did you see him actually signal or call for a timeout in that last possession? Well, I guess it didn't. Maybe it wasn't the last possession, but that possession with like 10 seconds left.
I'll be honest, I didn't see him call for one. I was focused on Miles Rice going up the court. I assumed that the idea was that Miles Rice would dribble into the front court and then kind of call the timeout once he got past half court, so Indiana could get the ball in the front court.
Right.
But then he just kept going straight to the rim, and it was like, okay, but it doesn't seem like he's beating his man off the dribble. What is he going to do here? And then the shot goes up, and it was blocked, and you wonder at the entire time, you're like, okay, what was the plan here originally? Because remember, there was a timeout right before, like the previous possession. Like Purdue called a timeout to set up the play that ended up becoming Trey Kaufman-Renn's winning hook, right? So you'd think that in that timeout, there would have been kind of a discussion of, okay, if Purdue scores here to go up by 1 or 2, then we dribble into the front court and call a timeout. That's the plan. But it doesn't seem like either that wasn't discussed or it wasn't emphasized well enough because Miles Rice did not do that.
I know I asked a particular college coach that I spend quite a bit of time with during the winter about a situation like that, and I was told that every college program practices those late-game situations almost weekly, if not daily, in practice. Indiana, even if Mike Woodson didn't spell it out, Indiana probably should have been understood the game score and time situation and been able to be smart enough to call the timeout because it was Trey Galloway that should have had the ball in his hands. And I don't know if Purdue took away Galloway, but Mike Woodson, how did he explain that whole sequence after the game? Did he like the shot? Did he like the way Indiana executed? What did he say about the timeout? And what did he say about Galloway not getting the ball?
Yeah, it's interesting that you talk about Galloway, because that was what Matt Painter said after the game, was that it was lucky for Purdue that Trey Galloway didn't have the ball in his hands, because he had been the one that had been torching Purdue in the second half, which I thought was correct. He had been getting to the rim basically any time he wanted if you set a little bit of a screen for him. Miles Rice had struggled most of the game, hadn't really beaten anyone off the dribble the entire night. So you're right, that was not the guy that Indiana wanted to have the ball there. Mike Woodson said after the game, basically that was his comment, was that he tried to get Rice's attention to call a timeout. Rice didn't see him. He thought that Rice got fouled on the shot. I don't think replay really backs that up, but it was right after the game, so Woodson obviously hasn't seen a replay yet. But it was obviously frustrating for a lot of people. We saw the video of Umar Ballo in the huddle after that possession, kind of getting on Miles Rice a little bit. Woodson didn't seem to have much of a problem with Ballo showing that emotion, and quite frankly, I don't either. I think it's good that a senior leader is stepping up and saying, hey, we need to be better than that. And so I do think that was part of it, was that everyone was frustrated in that moment, and it kind of spilled over a little bit.
I've heard some mixed reviews of Umar Ballo's behavior after the game. Obviously very frustrated. What did Mike Woodson say about it, and what are your thoughts on someone that I don't know how you describe it, but gets visibly frustrated at the end of a game?
Yeah, basically what Woodson said was essentially like it's the heat of the moment, and he got heated a little bit, and that's going to happen in competition. Woodson said he didn't really have a problem with it. He said that Ballo made his view plain that he did not think that was the right basketball play, and Woodson said essentially that's his right to make that point. And I think he's correct. I think that as much as that was not a great look for Indiana, that Ballo was so upset in the huddle, I think that Ballo has a right to be upset. He played very hard in that game. He helped put Indiana in a position to win, and they didn't have their best play on in those final moments because it was not communicated well. And so I do think that Ballo is we kind of forget because he's a transfer. He's a fifth-year senior. He's been around for a while, and he knows what it takes to win. He's been on a lot of winning teams, and he's frustrated that they're not winning as much as should. It spilled over a little bit, but sometimes a leader has to take charge a little bit, and I think that's kind of what he was trying to do there.
You don't think that that's a sign that there's potential chemistry issues, that this is a group of individuals that still is not cohesive as a team?
Well, I thought I can see why you make that point. I think we'll find out more tonight with play Wisconsin, but I thought they played a pretty good team game against Purdue that night. I think that usually the last two games, you can see the chemistry there for the most part outside of the last couple of possessions, right? They've played two teams that are ranked in the top 20 currently and have had the lead with less than 15 seconds left in both games. You don't do that when you have serious chemistry issues on your roster. Now, if they come out and they lay a complete egg tonight, maybe you start to think about, well, maybe that was the breaking point and these things are starting to boil over. Right now, I think you can say it's a guy who is a leader who is frustrated. I think that's probably where I come down right now.
We've talked now for a couple of weeks about the Hoosiers' response. They've had multiple games where they've had opportunities to win, or as you say, they laid an egg late and didn't get the job done down the stretch. And so here again, one of those pivotal games, and they've got to go to a place they haven't won since 1998. What do you see Indiana having to do against Wisconsin to give themselves a chance?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of what they did against Purdue, which is really run shooters off the three-point line. I think Wisconsin is going to try to bury IU in an avalanche of threes, which is something they've done a lot more this year than they have in the past. And Indiana is going to have to really get out on shooters, close out, rotate well, and make these guys drive to the hoop. That's not exactly what they want to do, and avoid fouling. Wisconsin is number one in the country in free throw percentage. They shoot almost 85% as a team. It's kind of crazy how good they are at it. So basically you have to play really, really solid fundamental defense. We've seen that from Indiana at times this year. We saw it for a lot of that first half against Purdue. It just needs to be for a full 40 minutes. This game is going to be tight down the stretch. Wisconsin doesn't get blown out. So, again, late game communication is going to be part of it as well.
When you talk about the late game situations, I don't want to overlook the execution by Purdue because they absorbed quite a bit of the clock on their late game possession and then got the shot they probably were looking for. Indiana forced that shot to be a little more difficult than probably Purdue would have liked, but it was. And I said this to Don Fisher yesterday. You've got to give some credit where credit is due, that even though Trakoff and Wren got forced into a more difficult jump hook, that was the guy they wanted to have the ball, probably in the spot where they wanted him to get it, and probably the type of shot they wanted him to take, but he hit a tough one from about 14 feet.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what Matt Painter said after the game was like, he thought Indiana played pretty good defense on that possession. They kind of took them out. They wanted to get the ball to Kaufman-Wren deeper on the post and give him an easier look, but it didn't work out because Ballo kind of helped and recovered when Braden Smith went over the screen that was set for him in the pick and roll. So they had to kind of get it to Kaufman-Wren in the middle of the floor, 14 feet out. Ballo recovered pretty well and got a decent contest, and Kaufman-Wren just made a shot. It really was a big-time players make big-time plays situation. Kaufman-Wren, who Matt Painter said even before the season started was going to have an all Big Ten type year. I've never heard him say that about anyone before so forcefully. He came out and said that, and Kaufman-Wren has absolutely delivered. 18 points a game, just showing up night after night for Purdue, and he showed up in a huge moment there, making a big play to give Purdue a win that it needed on its home floor.
Well, now Purdue has to go on the road, and they go to Iowa City, and I would assume Purdue's a favorite by a couple of points. I haven't seen what the line is, but I think Purdue should win this game. I'd be disappointed if they don't win at Iowa City, but what do you see as the keys in the Boilermakers versus the Hawkeyes?
Well, it's what it's been for Purdue a lot of the year, and it's kind of elevated tonight, is avoiding turnovers, right? They have C.J. Cox in the starting lineup right now next to Braden Smith to give Purdue another ball handler, and Iowa is going to come after them with that three-quarter court press that Iowa likes to run, and C.J. Cox is going to have to handle the ball because they're going to try to get it out of Braden Smith's hands, Iowa is, and they're going to need C.J. Cox to bring the ball to the floor and get Purdue into offense without turning it over. And so it's a lot to ask of a freshman, but he has kind of shouldered a pretty big load over these last couple of games and played very poised, very well, and that's what Purdue is going to need in this game, because if you turn the ball over against Iowa, they're going to get out and run, and they're awesome in transition, as they always are. So that has to be a big part of the game plan, is taking care of the ball, getting good shots, because Iowa's half-court defense is not particularly scary. It's just a question of, can you get the ball across half-court, essentially.
Purdue, by the way, is a 6.5-point favorite against the Hawkeyes tonight in Iowa City. The Boilermakers, Braden Smith's been fantastic of late, and Fletcher Lawyer, I think, has really gotten comfortable with his game and his role. But the guy that has really been perhaps the X factor for the Boilermakers is Caleb First, and almost everybody's singing the praises of Caleb First, who burst on the scene as a freshman, looked like he was going to have a terrific career, and then kind of pushed down the bench a bit as a sophomore and junior because of Zach Edey and the amount of minutes that Edey played. But now he's back getting a very significant role, and he's really doing well in it.
Absolutely. He has been, Purdue's season really took off when they put Caleb First back in the starting lineup as a full-time guy. And he's not a big scoring guy. He doesn't grab a ton of rebounds, although he does pretty well on a per 40-minute basis. But what he does is defensively is he's able to guard basically positions 2 through 5. He can get out on the perimeter. He's not going to be guarding a shooter every single possession. But what he can do is he allows Purdue to switch a ton of screens, and he can help and recover very, very quickly. He's athletic. He's long. He has good instincts on defense. And he really uses his length very well to kind of get in passing lanes, make things difficult for opposing guards, even when he's a little bit overmatched. And I think that's what he gives them, is versatility on the defensive end. And then also, of course, toughness on the glass, which Purdue was struggling with when they had kind of Cam Heide starting at the 4. They were kind of losing some rebounding battles, and Trakoff and Wren was kind of going it alone on the glass. And so I think having First in there next to Kaufman-Wren gives Purdue a better rebounding situation as well. It's been a significant change in how the Boilermakers play since First went into the starting lineup, and it's been a better team since then.
Dylan, always appreciate you. Thanks so much for jumping on. And what is the coverage tonight? What's the plan? Are you going to be able to cover both games at once? What are you doing?
That is the plan. Thankfully, Purdue's at 7 and IU's at 9, so I'll kind of transition from from one end to the other. I'm looking forward to that. I'll have stories about both of them in the paper tomorrow.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Dylan.
Absolutely, Brett. Thanks for having me on, as always.
Yep, Dylan Sinn from the Journal Gazette. Covers college sports, covers common hockey.
I mean, you can just name a sport, and he probably covers it.
Well, he probably likes the Comets because it's the shortest drive of any sporting event that he has to go to.
Save some mileage on the car.
But always great to talk to him. And as he said, tonight we've got coverage of Purdue versus Iowa. That will be right after the Mastodons Coaches Show, which comes up at 6. Purdue tips then at 7. And Rob Blackman will have the call here on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM with Indiana versus Wisconsin on our sister station, WOWO 92.3 FM. We'll take a quick time out, come back, and talk Super Bowl. That's coming up. Also, Pacers in action tonight after playing last night. Tough road trip for the Pacers.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about what perhaps is a difficult matchup against Portland. That comes up next here on the Sports Rush on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
You're listening to the Sports Rush with Brett Rump on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Welcome back to the Sports Rush, your daily local sports fix 4 to 6. I am Brett Rump, and it is coming up this Sunday, Super Bowl 59. As the Philadelphia Eagles take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs looking for the three-peat. And I did find something fascinating. I saw a story, I don't know if it was on SportsCenter or somewhere, where the Los Angeles Lakers might make a good chunk of money. I believe it is the Lakers that hold the trademark to the three-peat. And so if Kansas City is able to win and they use three-peat in any way on merchandising or T-shirts or anything that's sold with the phrase three-peat, it actually makes money for another professional sports organization, and I believe it is the Lakers.
That's pretty smart. You gotta give them credit. I mean, hey, let's trademark it.
Yeah, because Pat Riley actually was the one who mentioned the phrase originally when he was with the Lakers, a couple of decades ago. And so that's where it came from. But I think they're the ones that actually hold the trademark.
So it is actually Pat Riley who first trademarked the phrase in 1989 while coaching the Los Angeles Lakers, and he gave the Chiefs the okay to use it. So there you go. Okay. So you would think, is it an okay because he is going to get some financial reimbursement? I don't know, but I'll tell you what. We're talking about this, and there's an entire article about this that was posted just 10 minutes ago. Oh, really? Yeah. I did not see that, so I'll catch up. Yeah, it says, thanks to an agreement with Miami Heat President Pat Riley, they'll be able to use the phrase three-peat worry-free if they do win. Last night they had, what did they call it now? Is it opening night at the Super Bowl or something like that, or kickoff night, or... It used to be media day, and then they moved it tonight, and they made it a little bit of a more, casual event. But, it's so much silliness. It's like you really don't get a whole lot as far as game preview or what to expect, because it's not sports writers that are asking the questions. No, it's a bunch of YouTubers and streamers. And let's see. Previously known as Media Day, the opening night of the Super Bowl is called Opening Night. Yeah, that's what I thought. I was trying to go flip to it a little bit on the NFL Network, and I finally thought the silliness is not worth it to me. I'm going to learn nothing by knowing what's your favorite breakfast, pancakes or waffles. It's a very creative name. But, yeah, they ask a bunch of silly questions. And, of course, I figured that the prevalent question last night was going to be about the Chiefs getting some favoritism from the officials. And I know it came up, but I don't know how often it was asked because I just didn't commit. I wasn't 100% committed to opening night last night. That's where you messed up. Oh, no, I was watching Kansas just pound the you-know-what out of Iowa State last night in college basketball. There you go. So coming up tonight, we've got the Mastodons Coaches Show. That will be at the top of the hour. Big show tonight. Yeah, you've got a good one lined up for us. I'll tell you, it's a good one. And I just guarantee it's plenty of great content. It's like the
the prophecy in me can envision that this is going to be a great show tonight.
You just have a gut feeling.
Yeah,
huh?
just a gut feeling that I know exactly how this show is going to go, and I feel really good about it. But
fantastic.
It will be Coach John Kaufman that will lead it off at 6 o'clock. Also on the show tonight, Eric Mulder. You'll have women's basketball coach Maria Marcasano and Jordan Reed. And I was fascinated, or I will be fascinated with Jordan Reed.
Yeah.
Because Jordan Reed's history is kind of unique. You don't run into too many college basketball players that have on their resume former high school extra point kicker for a state championship football team.
Yeah, I think the list of women's college basketball players who were, part of a football team in general is very small, let alone a championship team.
I wonder, and I don't remember watching New Pal, but I wonder, because the name Jordan could be a boy's name, I wonder if there were media that covered New Pal that didn't realize it was a girl that was kicking for them.
I'm sure it's possible, absolutely.
But, we're going to ask her the story behind how she became a high school kicker and how she ended up on a team as good as New Pal. Because I'll tell you this, if you were an extra point kicker at New Pal, you got a lot of time on the field because they were a high-scoring and are a high-scoring football team.
Yes, sir.
Didn't they just play in the state championships?
I believe they did.
I was out of town, but I think New Pal just played in the state championships. Might have won a state championship.
Looks like they beat East Noble 56-26.
That's right. It was, yeah. But see, that tells you I wasn't there because I'd forgotten that already. But
we broadcast that game, I believe.
We had the game on our airwaves.
You were with the Dons.
I was with the Dons on a road trip.
Yep.
And since we were traveling and in buses and airplanes, I couldn't really follow the game as closely as I had hoped. And so, I'd forgotten. But New Pal always makes a run for a state championship. So
yeah, absolutely.
And she used to be a kicker for them, and she's got a state championship ring to prove it.
I'm looking forward to hearing about it.
So that is coming up at 6, and then Purdue basketball against Iowa coming up tonight at 7 o'clock. We will join Rob Blackman and the Purdue Radio Network just ahead of the tip-off from Iowa City. 260-447-8500, the Parkview Sports Medicine text line. Coming up tonight, Pacers take on the Portland Trailblazers. Portland.
You got it.
Man, this show about to end?
Yes.
Portland Trailblazers, after the Pacers came from behind, beat Utah. Needed that one last night because it's a back-to-back, and that's always a challenge, especially when you got to travel in between. And so the Pacers take on a Portland team that's playing as well as they have all year, especially DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, he had 25 and 20 in an overtime win against the Phoenix Suns last night, and the Trailblazers have won 8 of their last 9.
No, it's spreading.
It is.
Yeah, all right. For some reason, we've got the
we got to untie our tongue.
The swelling tongue syndrome going on here. But yeah. So it also good luck to all of our girls teams who start their sectional play tonight.
Yes, sir.
Got sectional games tonight, tomorrow night, Friday, Saturday. Packed week, and of course we'll have Snyder versus Carroll coming up this Friday night from Northrop.
Should be a lot of fun.
We'll take a break. We'll come back. It's the Sports Rush on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Breaking news from high school basketball. It is posted by Super Sam on X, formerly known as Twitter, that Jay County head boys basketball coach Jerry Baumholt has announced he's retired as the head boys basketball coach effective immediately. And Jay County released an entire statement regarding the details behind his retirement. All right, so that will do it for things on a Tuesday. Hopefully tomorrow night we're not talking about dangerous weather as the ice storm comes in.
Fingers crossed.
Tomorrow night into Thursday, the forecast. Might want to keep an eye on the weather, especially if you've got to do any kind of traveling tomorrow night. Coming up tonight, Purdue basketball at 7 at Iowa, and at 6 o'clock in just minutes, we've got the Mastodons Coaches Show, presented by Diamond Residential Mortgage. Keep it right here on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Got to thank our guests that jumped on the show today, Scott Agnes in hour number 1 and Dylan Sinn in hour number 2. If you missed any of the show, make sure you go to wherever you listen to your favorite podcast and search for The Sports Rush with Brett Rump. Big thanks to Adam Lundy. I am Brett Rump. This has been the Sports Rush on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.